we are going to start the first lecture.
So today, what Professor Islam told that we will be looking into the monitoring, why we do that. I will come to that in the next slides, but this one, which will take maybe half an hour or 45 minutes, effectively I will give you background of my lab, what are the works we do, so that you get ideas that what is going on and what we actually have at the moment. So that will give you quite good introduction. So this is just a short about my life. As you have already learnt in the inaugural that I was born and brought up, got all my educations in India. So I have my bachelor degree from Jadavpur University. I have done master from Indian Institute of Science, and then I worked 2 years in Crompton Greaves, Bombay, Kanjurmarg. And then after 2 years I realized that I don't fit in the industry. So I went back to Jadavpur as a lecturer. So when I met the vice president of the Crompton Greaves, he told me that you are taking the soft line. So as you know that in academics we are really don't have much hard rules and regulations. So is the soft line. He is very true. So I joined in Jadavpur University as a lecturer in 1990. I worked there for 5 years as a lecturer. But if you are in academics, if you do not have PhD, you will lose a lot. You may not gain much, but you will lose a lot. So in life we have to think of that we should not lose anything. Whether we gain, that's completely different thing, but we should not lose. So we have to have our PhD. So I was also doing my research there, got the PhD. But then I realized that India is not everything. It's better to have your mind open. Otherwise you will be like frog in the well. You do not know what is lake, what is river, what is sea, isn't it? So it's not good. So you should have always open mind. And also you have the adaptability to change yourself and to accept yourself. So I went to Japan in 1995 with the support from the Japanese government called Monbuso Scholarship. It was 1.5 year program, but it ended up 5 years. My life changed. I met my wife, she is from Sri Lanka, and we got married there. And then we thought that we'll come back to India. So I tried to come back to India. I spent my money for interview at Jadavpur University for reader post. I was first by the panel, but they did not take me because I earned more money in Japan. As you know that something should happen in life to change your direction. So we decided, yes, we have to think of something else. So I was looking for a job and got the job in New Zealand. So went in 2000 and staying there. But of course this year I'm changing again another part of my, maybe last part of my life. I'll be moving to Australia in June. I'll be taking up a position there and also little bit better. So right now like I'm just a professor. I don't lead any group. I have my own research group, but in Australia I'll be leading a group. I'll be looking after a degree program. So from that point of view, it will be little better. So Australia University called Macquarie University, which is much better ranking than my current university. So internationally they are 229, whereas my current university is above 600. So this is a quite good move. Hopefully it will be much better, and I will be looking after mechatronics degree program. Sensors and instrumentation are fundamental for that. So this is in general you can see here. So in terms of IEEE activities, as you can see, is very important for any engineers, because IEEE provides all the resources for research, which is fundamental. So IEEE has got almost 6 billion papers which we need for research, isn't it? So that's really fundamental things. And so I am involved with IEEE, and in 2010 I was elevated to fellow, which is little bit difficult and something which the engineers aspire for. So I am lucky from that point of view. and in New Zealand we have only 6 fellows, so I am one of them. So from that point of view also a little bit good. So just a little bit of the publication. In academics, publication is very, very important. In fact, last lecture which I will be giving in the valedictory session is on paper writing. So we will tell you whether you could write a paper or not, but that's not the issue of the talk. We will tell you some guidelines, how can you avoid few silly things which can lead to the rejection. So that's the motive of the last lecture. So at this stage of my career, it's not important that I need to publish, but if I stop publications, my students, they will be in danger, isn't it? So their career is more important than my career at this stage. So publication is very important. Any PhD students under my supervision has to have 4 journal papers, usually IEEE, SCI indexed, and also 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 conference paper. Conference paper actually doesn't count much in life, but they need to have for the opportunity of meeting people in different forum. So we work on sensors. So IEEE Sensor Journal is one of our main journal. Also there are other sensors like MDPI sensors, sensors and actuators, Elsevier, and so many other related area where you can publish your paper. So my group, I call it S2IS. S2 is basically SSIS. It stands for Smart Sensing and Intelligent Systems. So we have focused on 2 different aspects. One is the sensing, where we try to develop different types of new sensors. Another is intelligent systems, where we use already available sensors or also the sensors what we develop to make a system. Because at the end of the day, it's the systems which actually gives you information. Sensor can measure, but sensor does not give you anything on its own. You need to have the system. So that's the 2 area we work. The big picture of our group is called wellness of human being. So human being, we want to make our life much safer, much better, much more efficient. So sensors are developed for that things in our mind. So wellness of human, that's the main area where all our research are embedded upon. So if you see some of the PhD at the moment, I am supervising 10 PhD students. So you can see few of the PhD topic: wellness protocol, smart home, human lifestyle, human wellness with using flexible sensors which can come on the body, early detection of osteoporosis, human tracking, distributed monitoring using internet sensing. Most of the project can be connected to internet using some special circuits which can be designed or developed using some transceiver, some signal conditioning circuits, and so on. So this picture shows the theme. So if you are doing a master in New Zealand, master is a 1-year degree program based on research. So you do research just for 1 year, you get master degree. So if you do master degree in 1 year, you can understand 1 year just goes, isn't it? It's not much time. So it's pretty hard to do anything realistic. So we emphasize on available sensor in the market. You make your instrumentation circuits, connection interface to the processor, make system. So that type of things we give emphasis on master degree. It's a 1 year. But if you do PhD, where you need to think of some novelty, okay? I mean, when we write paper, we always want to see what is novel. If you repeat something, what somebody has done 5 years back, 10 years back, you don't expect that your paper will be accepted. So what is novel? Why do you do that? So we think of something new. So we go for fabricating new sensor for new applications. So that's the thing we need to have in our mind, that why do I do that? Somebody else has done. If I repeat, I don't get the credit, isn't it? And similar thing is true for paper publications. And I will be telling you that one is the main thing what IEEE or any publisher looks into, called plagiarism. That means you do not take any credit for somebody's work. and we need to be very, very careful of. And these days, internet is very dangerous, very, very dangerous. You think that you are sitting in your office, nobody knows, okay, of course, Jamia everybody knows in New Delhi, but think of somebody has internet in the remote village, download something from internet, use it, you think, oh, nobody has seen me, I have downloaded this. If you use it and submit it, IEEE Explore, they have a software called cross-check. They immediately find out what did you do, and they come out with the similarity index. So just be careful that you think that nobody has seen, actually everybody has seen because of internet. So we need to be careful about that. We'll talk about that again more later on. So one of the things what we will be looking into is that when you think of sensor, selection of sensor is very, very important. We need to have clear idea of the applications. What is my applications, and for that applications what type of sensor. When somebody, a new student, gets that problem, even simple like temperature sensor, what the student does these days, they go back, they search in the internet temperature sensor, and the website give you maybe 200 to 300 websites. You play around some time, gets bored, go for a cup of coffee or walk around. That day may be gone. Next day again you think the same way, and you say, oh, yesterday I started searching, today I will search the company. You understand? That's the situation. It's pretty hard unless you have very clear concept in mind what exactly I am looking for. So the selection of sensor, quite a few things. I always tell that operating principle is important, but most important is the availability. Now you may say, oh, this is not, I can buy it from Japan, okay? It will come within 3 weeks. In reality it is not, because sometimes suppose you buy sensor and your sensor cost maybe $1, let's say 50 rupees, but the freight can be 3,000 rupees, isn't it? And you come to your supervisor, because your supervisor is father, mother, everything, asks money he will give, but his pocket is empty. When you say, can I get it from Japan, you will see his face, and those people who are doing image processing can analyze how the emotion changes. So it's not a very good thing. So availability is very important, and that can be one fundamental things. So think of the sensor available in India, doesn't matter whether it's in Bangalore or it's in Hyderabad. If it is in India, you can save a lot of money on freight. So you can actually do that way, that what is available in locally. Okay? So that's why I say availability, because cost is one of the things. And company, whether company opened few years back, possibility of closing down in near future, then what can you do? Because when Internet of Things, one of the thing is called interoperability. You can replace anything by a similar type of sensor, so that you don't need to design again from the scratch. And then of course, cost and performance figure are important. So in our group, this is one of our main theme of research, using interdigital sensor. It is something so common, and it was started around 1970s. If you start the patent search, okay, you search the patent on interdigital sensor, I don't know how many, more than 250 you will get. So always the question is asked, what is new? Okay, you are doing something using old sensor. So that's why sometimes your research should be dictated by new applications. So whenever we do research, it actually has got a story. Okay, it comes from something which actually motivated us to do, and that's what I want to convey to you. Think of new applications, because unfortunately you will find that development of new theory may not be left for you. Okay, somebody has already done before you. Okay, so if you wait for theory, wait for something new, you may not be able to do that. So think of new applications. New applications can motivate you, because you are attacking some problem which people, common people face day to day life. So think of new applications and how can you actually solve that by doing some new technique. So integrated sensor is very, very useful for our lab, and we actually, this is the planar one, normal one which is becoming planar, and we change that to a little different structure so that we can tell it's novel. And now the material is coming very important. How do you design the sensor using different types of material? How can you make the sensor flexible so that you can use in the bent surface, you can make very small nano scale so that you can use inside the body. So that type of things we are now working on, and this is the fabricated sensor using MEMS technology. So this is one of our main area of research. This one of the applications which came from a problem, seafood. You know, seafood can have some detrimental effect on human, food poisoning. Okay? So the food poisoning due to the biotoxin. It was one of the problem even New Zealand faced a lot. So we decided that we can do something. So this sensor we developed, and where you can detect, so this is the sensor here, you can detect the natural biotoxin, it can measure the level of the biotoxin, and with the location GPS sensor it can tell which area. So this comes from the polluted water. Okay, if the water gets polluted, then there will be blue algae. Okay, you can see the grass in the water, you know. So when you see the grass, some kind of grass, you can always think the water is not good, because those algae grow eating lots of things in the water. Okay, so the blue algae, they produce natural biotoxin. So when mussel, seafood, they eat that algae, they get that natural biotoxin, and when we eat that, it comes to us, and that toxin cannot be destroyed by boiling or freezing. So it comes to us, and that can actually do a lot of harm to us. So that was one of the problem we did. We extended that sensor for pathogen detection. New Zealand is a country where we have got 4.7 million people only, okay? Only 1/4 of Delhi, even 1/5 of Delhi maybe. But we have 6.6 million cow, and we have 47 million sheep, lambs, okay? So we can compare population of Delhi with lambs population in New Zealand, can be comparable. New Zealand export meat to 165 countries in the world. New Zealand meat is very, very yummy, tasty, because the lambs or the cows or whatever it is, animals, they only fed grass. New Zealand grassland research is quite famous. So they do research on grass, how can you make healthy grass? And I remember when I was small, we used to take out the grass, you know, in our making dirty, take out. So you can think of the culturally different, you know, setting. So in New Zealand, grass is very, very important, because the dairy industry brings 26% of the country's GDP, and the meat industry is another 26%. So the dairy and meat industry is the 52% of the country's economy. So it's very important. So we export to 165 countries. What exactly we do? We kill the animal, okay, every day maybe 7,000 to 8,000 animals. Usually when I say animal, mainly like beef. The lambs is different domain, it's much more. So they kill the animal, they cut into big pieces. One piece can be 1.5 to 1.8 kilogram, and then goes to different countries by ship. It takes 2 months to 3 months. So when it reaches the other country, from there they bring to shopping center, shopping chain, cut into pieces, package it, and then goes to the different shopping center. Actually in India also you can get that, like, I don't know, Big Bazaar, not the Big Bazaar, but some other type of shopping center where you can buy meat. Now in that process, you cannot expect the meat is kept in ideal condition of refrigeration, temperature, other things. So pathogen can grow. So pathogen usually, you know, whenever the temperature and other conditions are not appropriate, they can grow. So it happened many times that people consume meat and have food poisoning. Okay? So our idea was, can we actually develop a low cost sensor where you can detect the quality of meat before you consume. So that's the idea. So you have meat in the refrigerator, you take it out, it takes some time for becoming thaw, take a sample, put the sensor on the sensor, and it can tell the quality of the meat, whether pathogen or not. But of course, you can still can consume, because pathogens is always there. When the bacteria is too many, they can attack us, we become sick. Otherwise, bacteria are there are good bacteria also. So here mainly we concentrate for E. coli. So E. coli and Salmonella are the two main bacteria which is responsible for 60% of the food poisoning. Yeah, so we can detect something like picogram per milligram, okay, picogram per milligram. But if you can have something like, let us say, hundreds of nanogram per gram, then it can be a problem. Okay? So microgram level is dangerous, microgram per gram. So ppm level is quite a dangerous thing. But this bacteria we can detect picogram per gram level. Okay? So ppb level. This is another story, and this comes from we were talking yesterday with Tarikul. This comes from plastic bottle. The actual problem was not the plastic leaching from the bottle. Actual problem started in Taiwan. Taiwan, as you know, very small country, but they produce huge amount of juice, fruit juice, and they export to Japan, US, many other countries though, but Japan and US are the main two. What happened? The juice manufacturer, they added plastic, okay, so the normal plastic in the juice. Why? Because if you see the juice, when you know sometimes you do, and you can see a lot of fibers, you think, oh, yum, okay, eat it. Actually partly that comes from the fruit, but mainly from the plastic. So when they mix that, the juice become more tasty, more flavored. So Taiwanese people used to drink a lot. Still they do, but they become little bit careful now. Actually, what happened, the young couple, they got married, they want babies, but they were not having babies. And whole world is like that, what we have in India. We always blame the wife, isn't it? Wife is the unlucky guy, because man is always correct, isn't it? So they used to do that, but Taiwan is much more developed country. So both the couple went to the doctor, they have the test, both husband and wife have the test. After 8 years, they realized the man is the problem. Okay? It took quite a long time. So the problem started actually in 2002. When they did that, they actually investigated the food, because genetically everything is okay. What is the problem then? So they realized the food. So they analyzed for a few months, they realized that man is very busy. He actually most of the time take food outside, and one of the most important component is the juice. Then they targeted the juice, and two manufacturers, they are the biggest manufacturer in Taiwan for juice, they found out that they add plastic, literally plastic. So that was one of the problem for us, and then it's the scandal. So you can see this is the scandal in 2011, and that's what it's in Chinese. So I am very much attached with Taiwan. I visit Taiwan every year 2-3 times. So they asked, can we actually make a sensor for that? So that was the problem. If you remember, I told you that I would like to get problems from you. So that was the problem we got from Taiwan. So my student worked on that, and he finished PhD last year. So we developed the sensor. Here the sensor is the same interdigital sensor, but the challenging part is the selectivity. So we'll talk about that later on. How can you make the sensor selective? So we developed a technique called molecular imprinted polymer. So we developed a polymer which actually can capture the molecule. So we can capture the molecular level. Okay? So it's in ppb level. So that was one of the problem, but we did not actually want to say that manufacturer is bad. Suppose manufacturer is ideal, they don't mix, but you still use the plastic. You have ever seen that plastic bottle? Of course, here we don't see. They say date of expiry. Yeah. They don't say date of expiry, but they say date of manufacture. Usually the date of expiry is 1 year. You may always ask yourself that water exists before human civilization came, isn't it? In sea, in river, lake, we never think of water can be bad, isn't it? I mean, in India, a lot of people drink water from pond. Like I grew up to 18 years of my life drinking water from pond. Okay, well, or pond water is basically my mom used to cook rice with pond water. Still healthy, living well. So why the water has got a date of expiry? So actually, the date of expiry has nothing to do with the water. What happened is actually the plastic leach. And I was talking with Professor Islam yesterday. In India, you will find a lot of people drink in plastic. Never ever drink water or any kind of liquid after today's lecture, because if you heat, you force the plastic to leach more. Okay? So the plastic has the toxin called phthalate. Phthalate. It's a big molecule. So that phthalate is the dangerous element. If it comes to our body little bit more, it can disturb our hormone cycle, and it disturbs much more to the male, not female. So that's the reason of that problem what happened in Taiwan. So we actually detect the leaching of phthalate from the plastic bottle to water or any kind of water related things, juices or anything, wine or milk. So that was one of the problem we did, and we actually detect in the level of ppb, okay, parts per billion.
Water stored in food grade bottles like Tupperware and other things, they also have
Yeah, they can have. That's what I'm telling. If it is hot, because we did our experiment putting any kind of container in microwave oven, and we can see that it actually leached more. If you keep it cold, it's not that much issue, but if you make it hot, and you will find that it is flexible as long as the phthalate is there. And you will find if you just put a plastic inside the microwave oven for more time, you will find it becomes very strong. That means it leached out all the plastic, all the phthalate, and that's what is flexibility gone. So they mix phthalate to make it flexible. That's why plastic can take different shapes. So that's the main thing.
In the plastic packet, people carry the tea, hot tea.
Yeah, so plastic making hot tea, please don't drink anymore. Okay? I mean, if you want to keep yourself safe. So that's the technique we developed called molecular imprinted polymer. We'll discuss it about more on the selectivity of sensor, because selectivity of sensor is the fundamental requirement for any sensor. So effectively, we developed a polymer which comes on the top of the sensor surface, and then when you apply your sample, it actually goes to the vacant place where the molecule is stuck there, and we can detect the properties of the molecule. This technique can be applied to many other techniques, and my students, they are actually working on that using the same technique, but trying to develop the polymer for that different molecule. So one is working on the osteoporosis, which is the problem for the human being. The bones become brittle. It's more problem than to the ladies than the men, but it's not the men are escaped. Men also have the problem, only age difference. So bone becomes brittle, we can detect. Also, we are developing a sensor for detection of nitrate and arsenic. So that is a very good technique for the selectivity part. We developed a nitrate sensor. Nitrate is very important for New Zealand. What happened, if you think of New Zealand has 6.6 million cow and 47 millions of sheep, especially the cow. you will be surprised that cow doesn't have a house to stay in the night. Okay? I mean, they are just on the field. 12 years back when I took my parents and I was driving, my parents were in the car and I told, see, the cows are grazing, and my dad, he was looking around and asked that where is the shade? So I told there is no shade, okay? Because when we are small in West Bengal, we had 2 cows and we had shade called Goal Ghar, okay? But he was not able to see. I told no, there is no shade. So he just kept quiet. After 5 minutes, he asked me, he thought I joked with him. So I asked me, Subhas, did I ask you that where is the shade? I don't see any shade. I don't know, there is no shade. They are there whole day, whole nights. So that's New Zealand. So the farmers has got 3 types of farmer. When you say small farmer, he has 500 cow. Okay, can you tell me how many people he employ? With 500 cow, how many people he can employ to maintain his farm? That's the farm. How many? Huh? I did not get the number. At least 15. 50. So he himself work in the farm and he employ another one. Can you imagine in India? Very first time when I visited the farm of my friend, I was really surprised. He himself worked for the farm and he employed 1 more person. So if you think of that type of farming comes in India, everybody will lose their job, isn't it? No. So that's the reality. So New Zealand has got 3 types of farm: small farm, 500 cow; medium farm, 2,000 cow. 2,000 cow means basically he employ another 4 or 5 guys, and little bit large farm, 5,000 cow, where he employ around 12 to 13 people. Everything is automated. So cows are brought to the milking platform and automated things are there. That's the person is required, because even though it's called automated, but you have to put the udder for milking. 8 minutes it takes for milking, go. So all the cows, 500 cows, they will be milking around 2.5 hours. Then they go and they change the paddock. So every day they change the paddock 3 times, 8 hours, because the grass, they eat the grass, that's all, okay, and drink. So 3 things they do: they eat or drink, they give milk, and they do urinate. Of course, poo also. But urine is very important, because if you think of 6.6 million cow, 1 cow gives 30 liters of milk, but they do urine almost 6 to 8 liters a day. So if you multiply 8 liters with 6.6 million, how many liters of urine goes to the ground? It's a huge amount of urine, isn't it? Now that urine has got huge amount of nitrate. When the urine goes, it reacts. Sometimes nitrate becomes ammonia in the form of gas, but lot of nitrate they could not get to react, and they goes after the groundwater. They sometimes goes either to the lake water or to the river water, finally to the sea. So this is a big problem, because New Zealand is a signatory of Kyoto Protocol, and that actually environmental pollution. So the nitrate, when mixed with water, can have lot of harmful effect, especially if you drink lot of nitrate water, we can lose our brain functioning. So it can be dangerous. So WHO has got some guidelines, and if you do not follow that guidelines, you can be in trouble. Now it was not a problem. As long as we are ignorant, our life is very safe, isn't it? If we become intelligent, we become in trouble, isn't it? So it was not a problem, but then after the Kyoto Protocol, it becomes a problem, because New Zealand, we always call it's a green, beautiful, pure country, but when you take the water and taste it, you find out it's not that good. So what the city council, so every region has the city and council is there, mayor is there, it's their responsibility So they send the engineers to the farm, they collect sample, send it to the lab, test and find out the nitrate level. If the nitrate level is too high, they just send a penalty to the farmer. So in recent times, like 3-4 years back, farmers started getting lots of penalty. And as I said, farmers, only 2 people working, they don't want to do anything, but they also don't want any problem, isn't it? So they need some sensor which will give them some idea of the nitrate level. Now at the moment what they do, they got some chemicals which they spray to react with the nitrate. So chemically they react with the nitrate, they mix ammonia and water, ammonia goes, no problem. But what they do, they spray uniformly because that's what they could do. But interesting thing is, the cow, they do not urinate uniform, isn't it? So the problem is, in some localized place, there are lots of urine, some other place, no urine. So how do you know then? So that's the problem. So they spray chemical, that's ended up another problem. So ultimately they needed the sensor. So what you could do, you can install sensor every few tens of meters or so, and that can give you the mapping of the whole area. So we developed the sensor, and actually we are discussing, because how the biggest problem comes, that how do you install the sensor so that it will not do any problem to the cows grazing. So that's what we are at the moment discussing, that how can you do that, how many is the real you need, because then also you need to think of that, can you get the complete idea. So we are telling the farmers another idea, that you can have this little sensing system at your office, because it needs computer, so you can have that in office, you can collect a sample, do that, but they don't want to do anything. Okay? So that's why the challenge comes. But this is the one we developed, very low cost, because currently the sensor which are available based on optical, that cost $50,000, and our sensor we can make it within $250. Big difference. Okay, so the next topic is the intelligent system. So this is our one of the pet topic, which we call smart home. Smart home is not only for the elderly people, can be for anybody if person living alone at home. So based on wireless sensor network, here in this picture what we are showing, okay, this picture is related to the prediction. You remember Professor Islam told that IoT now almost 10 billion, 2020 50 billion. Actually, if you see the prediction, they are predicting this human who was born few years back will live 120 years. I mean, if you see 120 years, you think, oh, okay, fine, it's very good, we enjoy for so long. But if you think of, you retire at the age of 60 or 65 and you live at 120, so only half of your life you spend studying, working and so on. Then another half you have to suffer a lot, isn't it? Because you become, unless genetically we change, we become brittle, we become more prone to fall and many other accidents. So at some stage, if you become like that, they are the Japanese people. I go to Japan every year because of my connection, and I visit the old people, because when I lived there, we call homestay. So we have some family where I stayed 1 or 2 nights and they become friends. So we call homestay father, homestay mother. So when I visit them, I go to them and I visit those people. They are not my homestay though, but they are close to my homestay family. They are around 85 to 92 years old. Now at that age, as we know, Japan life expectancy is the highest in the world, isn't it? But at that age, unfortunately, they need help for feeding, for taking to toilet. Now you think of that, you are living alone. It's impossible, isn't it? So at that age, we don't consider smart home, because at that age we need those people. They need to be there. But if you think this guy, he was our student. Okay, he was close to 45. Our university 36% elderly people, not elderly in the sense elder student. I mean, in India you think student means like, okay, after 18 they comes to university and they can go up to 27, 28 for doing PhD, but in our university more than 35 years old is 36%. Okay. So in New Zealand, people after school they think enough, okay, I have learnt enough, okay, go for job. They got a small salary job, go for job, and then they realized, oh, it's not enough. So they then come to uni. Okay, if I go to uni, get a degree, I might get a better job. So we get a lot of students who are old. So he was living alone with a house, small house, renting. Unfortunately, he died last year in March. He was living alone. His dead body was discovered after 20 days. Okay. How it was discovered? Suddenly the neighbor, he saw that a lot of big flies coming in and out of the window. So he came close and then got very bad smell, realized something wrong, went back to his house, called police 111. Police came, broke the window and found out his dead body. So after 20 days his body was discovered. So what we are trying to do is not that discovering the body quickly. We want to do something whether people can be saved from accident, because we don't know, he might have heart attack. How did he die? We don't know. He might have fallen down. So if something happened, we can inform the caregiver very quickly. So the idea of our smart home is to provide a safe, sound and secure living environment. How do we do that? Using wireless sensor network. So smart sensor, smart signal conditioning circuits, embedded controller, wireless communications, everything together with smart intelligent software, because software is very, very important. You have to decide whether the things are regular or things are irregular. If the things are irregular, you need to inform the caregiver. So that's what we do research. So these are our all sensor, all are related to smart sensor, and they send all the data. We will be telling you little bit more with one of my students will be coming next week. He can tell you software part. So his name is Nagendra Surjadevara. He is from Hyderabad. So he is now teaching there in one college. So it was actually quite a good research still going on. It's quite a good research in terms of changing the old home to a smart home using sensor, and it can look after the person. What we are trying to do at the moment is not for accident. We want to see how the lifestyle is changing. So for example, suppose you have some problem, you are not well. Most of the time you don't go to doctor, isn't it? You have Panadol or something in India very similar, and painkiller you take. When you say it's not happening, then you go to doctor, isn't it? I mean, everywhere it is similar. It's not special in India or in New Zealand. But when you go to doctor asks you something. Can you ensure the doctor is listening to you? Doctor may be thinking something else, isn't it? He might have fought with his wife before coming. His brain is something, or he is thinking some other problem. So he gives you some medicine. Actually, when the problem is not that critical, we get cured just like that. But we need to go to doctor, spend some money, because that changes our mentality. So if you are mentally strong, nothing can do any harm to you. But we are not that strong. So what we are trying to say, that if you go to doctor and think of the doctor has got some database, okay? You give your name, doctor gives your name, ID, whatever it is, doctor immediately get all the information about you. Okay, you did not sleep properly last few days, or you went to toilet too many times, okay, or you got up late. All this information with some flags, which are very, very important for the doctor to know. Then doctor don't need to listen to you, isn't it? Doctor get much more clear idea. and he can give medicine which will work wonder. So that's the idea of this work. So we are giving the complete lifestyle of the person, but in order to do that, you need to get those lifestyle, and that's why sensors are important. And also we can tell that how is the trend of change, because we are getting aging, with age things change. We can also tell, and we can also predict what is going to happen. Okay? That may not be, prediction may not be always correct, isn't it? Never correct, but it's prediction. So in this project we came up with analytical value of your wellness. Usually never think that. Somebody asks you, how are you? Good. If you are very close, you say not good, either tummy problem or neck problem, heart problem, something. But otherwise you don't tell anybody that I am 70% good. Have you heard of that? Somebody asks you, how are you? Oh, I am 75% good. No. So we can tell like that, that you are 65% good. But if you are below 60%, you need care. Okay? So that was one of our contribution, that analytical expression of wellness. If we think that only by noting the sensor which are used day to day life is not enough, we can also include wearable sensor. But usually wearable sensor are not very popular among people, but it can be also used. So you can measure the body temperature, heart rate, body conductance, if you want also can blood pressure, but a little bit more complicated, and then it can tell what is your physiological conditions. We extended that to determine the emotion of the person. So emotion is very complicated thing. You don't need to go for all the emotions are human, but few emotions like whether you are angry or you are sad can be good enough to tell whether you need help. So we could tell the emotions of the persons, and that is important. Think of the situation that your father or mother living alone and he calls you. Okay? Now if you love too much, of course you can respond to all this call, but these days people are busy. Okay? Father or mother, they have done their duty. Okay, I have my life. Sometimes, oh, mom, switch off, isn't it? Oh, you don't do, but people do. Okay. So what I am telling, if you have this type of situation, your father or mother need not to call you. He or she can put the hands on the platform, and that platform can determine what's the emotion. So if the person is sad or angry, then the system can generate automatic text message. Then you can see, oh yeah, you need to do something. So you can give call back or something like that. So that text message is one of the most important thing for intelligent system. How can you generate the text message which are not false? So that's the one of the challenge. So you have to generate the text message which are not false. At the same time, you should not wait so the person died by the time. So it's the big challenge. So that's the intelligent system which is important. So in the smart home, we extended the project also to determine the power consumption, so which we call smart grid, but actually not the grid in the terms of grid. When people think of grid, they always think of 700 kilovolt, but we are working on 230 volt. Okay? So basically the idea is the same. You measure power quantities using electronic instrumentation, wireless communications to take some action. So here what we can do, we can measure the power, voltage, current, frequency, also harmonic distortion. Those can come for a smart meter. So smart meter is a term which is quite used for this type of applications. Power companies or the distribution companies, they do not need to send people to your home to take the reading. They can take the reading from their office, because it's the communicator, it's connected to internet. But we have extended this also for some other applications. For example, if you think of the situation that the electricity price is going is changing throughout the day, is not constant. If you want that I do not want any electricity during the peak time when the price is high, it can actually take the rate from the website and it can switch off the load. Okay. Other things, suppose you went out of the house, you are living alone, you went out of the house and suddenly you are driving, you remember, oh, I forgot to switch off the heater, okay, or I forgot to switch off something. You can also do using your smartphone, or you can go to your office using the website. So that type of features also we have included. So if you think of Internet of Things, we will be telling you much more in details later on. We need to know a lot of softwares and also relationship between the client and server. So all these things. So effectively all the data. So this is the coordinator which receives all the data and that analyzed, and then you can upload the data through the internet in the server for remote access, okay, or for other people to see. So in order to do that, we have some softwares which we will be telling you much more detail later on. So Internet of Things, effectively what you do, you upload the data to the internet, okay, where you have got a website or you have got something, either cloud, where you have shared some space. Now you can do in two ways. One is that as a standalone sensor. So the sensor has got the processor, also full system to upload the data, or you can do many sensor, they send their data to the central controller and the central controller upload the data in the internet. Both has got positives and negatives. One of the problem what we have here, if you have this node become very expensive. An individual node will have its address. So that can be a big issue. Okay? So we will discuss more about it. So the last one, actually we have that description of the course which Professor Islam already told. So that's what the introduction. We will go to the next. So any questions? We are giving break, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
When you get so many devices onto the internet,
Yeah, we have got so many devices.
how do you ensure the security or interference related?
That's the area of research. We do little bit of security, but it's very difficult to ensure 100% secure system. Okay, and interference, of course, the communications
Even
things.
people emotional blackmailing, even such issues may also can come out. Because once there are the old
It can happen.
children will be there.
Yeah.
alone.
It can happen. It's very difficult to make sure that those type of things will not happen. Very difficult. But security is a big area of research.
Non-interference security.
Interference is not that much important because it can be taken care by the technological things. But security, impossible.
So
Yeah.
one more thing, there's a lot of problems so far as the power consumption at the sensor nodes are concerned. Especially I'm talking about with respect to wireless sensor.
Yeah.
So far as the practical wireless sensor network is concerned, they are utilizing 1.5 volt maximum battery, and that voltage is not going to be sustained for a long time.
So effectively what happened, I mean that's also another area of research. So energy harvesting is coming into picture. So if you think of that remote locations where you install the sensor, you don't expect that you will go and change the battery.
Exactly.
So you have to think of energy harvesting, but energy harvesting also different issues. There are a lot of research going on different types of energy harvesting. At the moment, solar is the established technique. Solar is used, but also other types of. But still, the energy level is not sufficient enough. Biggest problem is the communications. The sensor node does not consume much power, but the communication is the biggest problem. So they do a lot of different things, like only when you have enough power you communicate data. So it's not foolproof, but that's what different things are coming up. So we did a little work on energy harvesting also, but still at the moment, other than solar, it's not sufficient energy we could get. Yeah.
One more thing, I mean, when we talk about the integration of a smart sensor and Internet of Things, the response time could be an issue, because normally if you go for the automation area, one of the biggest challenge is that whatever execution I want, as far as the algorithm is concerned, the response should be in real time.
Yeah.
Real time, that means that should be well within the one time. If let's say the requirement is that response come within 1 nanosecond, so obviously all the processings and then the execution, everything should do well within the 1 nanosecond. So we consider it as a real response time, a real time.
So
How to
they,
do this?
yeah, so it's like, it depends on the applications. Like some applications you may get data in nanosecond, but you don't need to process in nanosecond.
Yes.
Okay.
So we
So
have to sense, and then we will process, and then we are going to reach to some decision, and then delivered back to the
Yeah.
execution process. So how to handle that?
yeah, you cannot handle that, because that's what it depends on the application. So if you think of that, you are having some applications where you can collect the data quick, but you don't need to process the data.